Okay, so welcome to another video. If you have watched last week's video, you will know that it ended with my back flaring up pretty badly, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to compete or not. Now, it's been a full week since then, so I'll give you an update of how things have progressed throughout the week, and then I will give you an update on comp. So, I guess first thing to say is Saturday night, Sunday night, I barely got any sleep. I was taking painkillers consistently through the day, and then before I went to bed each night, I was putting heat on it, I was putting ice on it, and it was just incredibly painful. I made sure to keep moving as much as I could. So during the day, I would go on lots of walks. I would make sure my steps were high. I would use the cross trainer at the gym. I would do some mobility work because I found my body doesn't feel good unless I regularly stretch. I do genuinely feel a lot better, a lot healthier, kind of just lighter in myself when I am more mobile, which obviously does make sense. So I definitely neglected that a little bit. So this week I've made sure to do a little bit of cardio on the cross trainer and mobility every single day. But essentially Monday I went and had a sports massage done and I had some adjustments done. And then again afterwards I went to the gym, I walked there. I then did some cardio on the cross trainer, just like 20 minutes and then 20 minutes or so of mobility work. And then I walked home. I then put ice on it immediately when I got home. And thankfully I did get a little bit more sleep Monday night. Still not great, but definitely an improvement. And then Tuesday, I actually was in nowhere near as much pain. Like it was significantly better Tuesday than it had been the previous days. So that was a massive relief because Tuesday I had to train. So I didn't train until the evening. So when I went and trained, I was still in quite a bit of pain. So I just took some ibuprofen before I trained. And I will kind of show you how that session went now. I will do a voiceover of the video and just kind of explain the adjustments I had to make along the way as well. So we'll take a look at Tuesday's session now. So first, I had a proper session post-injury. I did do my accessory day on Sunday, so the day after it flared up. But it was basically just machine work and it wasn't anything that would ever put any stress on my lower back, so it didn't really matter too much. So yeah, I had squats, pause squats. Originally, before my back flared up, the plan was to do 5 sets of 4 paused at 120. Obviously, I went into this with caution, so I took smaller jumps on my warm-ups. I did 70, I then did 100, and then I did 110 for my sets of 4. I think I could have pushed to 120 for my sets of 4 and been absolutely fine, but because last Saturday, when it went in the first place, it felt fine while I trained, I didn't want to push just because it felt okay in the moment and then regret it after. So I just took it lighter, did 110 for my 5 sets of 4, and it moved really well. And if anything, this back pain has just caused me to focus even closer on my technique, on my bracing and all of that. So I was really happy with how squats went. I did notice I got kind of like a mid-back pump, which was kind of bizarre to me. Normally, if I'm going to get a pump when I squat, it is my lower back. And I think I did touch on that in the last video when I explained some of the issues I've had with my lower back. But it wasn't anything I was worried about. And if anything, my lower back kind of felt better and more free and less painful to kind of move around after I'd finished squatting anyway. So I was really happy with how these went. I definitely could have pushed the 120, but like I say, there was just no point. I might as well just take smaller jumps, and I'm going to use this whole 4-week block as a recovery block more than anything else. So I was really happy with how these went. I really maintained that pressure over midfoot well, and everything just kind of felt really good. Then I moved on to bench, and I think this was the most heartbreaking part. Like, I was really hoping I'd at least be able to do my top single with my feet down, but even just setting up with just the bar, I just couldn't. So I used my feet on the bench, and it was still uncomfortable. It was still painful, but it was fine. I worked up to a 95 2-count top single that was definitely not actually a 2-count single, but it's fine. I'm not too worried about it. And then I did all of my back downs, feet up, and significantly lighter than planned, just because obviously with my feet up, there is limited leg drive and my positioning isn't as good. Like, I'm a lot more flat back, and it's not a problem. I'm still getting volume in. It's fine. I trust that when I will be able to put my feet back on the floor, things will move okay. So I did 82.5 for my sets of 5, and it moved fine. It was just so bizarre to me that 82.5 moved like that when I was supposed to be doing like 95 kilos for those back offs. And then I went on to do my Larsen, which was 3x8 at 72.5. I did actually make this lighter as well, even though obviously my lower back hasn't had a massive impact on Larsen, but only because setting up was an issue. Even setting up with my feet on the bench was still really painful. Obviously, to get in position for Larsen, I still had to have my feet on the bench, so it just wasn't worth loading heavier. I just wanted to make sure that I was okay in positioning wise and stuff. So Bench was okay. Obviously, it's a bit upsetting not to be able to put your feet down for bench, but it is what it is. And then I also added in some sumo deadlifts. Now, I was actually going to start trialing sumo this block until my back flared up, but then I spoke to one of my friends who is also a chiropractor and understands how I train, and he actually suggested that when I felt up to it, I should add in some sumo as a way of opening up my hips more than anything else, which would also help with my recovery. So that's why I stuck with just 70. Like, it was obviously easy as anything, and I just did sets of 5, and it felt really good actually. And I did notice afterwards, again, I felt a bit more free. And then I've put these split squats in here just because I knew I would ramble on too much just to use my training clips. Yeah, I then did split squats after, which I've been doing every Tuesday anyway. I just did them body weight just to allow me to focus completely on my balance, just in case I twisted and flared up my back. Okay, so as you can see, Tuesday's session wasn't brilliant, but it also wasn't terrible at all. Like, I was so happy to be able to squat. Yes, I lightened the load, but I expected to have to lighten the load. That's not a problem. I think the main thing that upset me was the fact that I had to keep my feet up for bench, and even setting up with my feet up was still pretty painful. So that was my main concern, but I managed to get through the session, and I also managed to bench 95 pretty easily with my feet up. So I at least had the reassurance that if it did come to comp and I couldn't put my feet down and fully use my leg drive, I could at least hopefully find a position where I could just rest my feet on the ground and essentially just use full upper body to just muscle it up and still get an okay bench. So I wasn't too upset about that, but it wasn't great. But considering the fact that I was just thankful to be able to train, I can't really complain. So I did my session, and then again, obviously I did mobility at the end, and then I came home and again put some more ice on it, and then I slept a lot better Tuesday night, and actually Wednesday it felt significantly better again. Like, it didn't feel any worse at all from my session. If anything, it felt better because I'd moved it more, and I'd moved it in different ways to what I had been the previous few days. So kind of starting to feel better as the week goes on. I think Thursday was the first day I managed no painkillers. On Wednesday as well, I did have my closer grip and accessory day. So I did my close grip bench with my feet up. I didn't film it, obviously, because I never do. Wasn't the best because the gym I go to is a commercial gym. It just has quite narrow standard benches. And one issue I have with those benches, which is why I only ever do close grip bench there, is that you can't adjust the rack height. It's one that's just set as it is. And I can't really reach very well. So combining the fact that my unracks are never the best anyway, with the fact that my feet were up and I'm on a narrow bench, it was a little bit awkward to get used to. I mean, by my last set, it was fine. I just lowered the weight. I had 4 sets of 6. It was supposed to be about 80. Like, it's a really sub-max day anyway. I did 70 for my first set and then 75 for my last 3. So it was fine, but it definitely took some getting used to. And then my accessories and everything were absolutely fine as normal. It hasn't affected them at all, so I'm really relieved in that front. And then Thursday, again, pain was still there, but nowhere near as bad. I think Thursday was the first day where I didn't really need painkillers. I think I took some again before I went to sleep, and I might have taken some during the day just because I was sat at my desk a lot, but mostly it was fine. And then Friday again, nothing too bad. It was kind of the same Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then yesterday, because it is now Sunday, so Saturday morning, I woke up and there was a little bit of tightness on the lower left side of my back, which is kind of where it originally stemmed from before it kind of went last Saturday. So I was a little bit conscious of that. I made sure to go on a decent walk before I went and trained anyway, just to loosen off as much as I could, and that definitely helped. I did also take some painkillers just before I trained, just to kind of, I took some ibuprofen to get rid of any inflammation, just to kind of make the session as comfortable as possible. And that definitely helped. So I managed to squat, again, absolutely fine. So this has not affected squats at all. I also managed to do my top single with my feet down, and then I did some sumo deadlifts. So I will show you my Saturday session now, and I will talk you through in a bit more detail, kind of the adjustments I had to make. And then afterwards, I guess I'll fill you in on whether or not I will be competing. Okay, so Saturday SBD, so exactly 1 week after the flare-up happened. It is week 1 of the block anyway, so it was always going to be light, but obviously just to be sensible, I lightened it even further for this week anyway. So my squats, I went into these actually feeling really confident because I know how good they felt on Tuesday, even though on Tuesday my back still didn't feel great, and it significantly improved between Tuesday and Saturday. So I knew I'd be able to hit my planned top double of 140, and it moved really well. I was really happy with it. It did feel fairly heavy on my back, but that always happens on week 1 of a block anyway, so not too worried about that. And I originally planned to do roughly 145, 147 for my week 1 top double. So obviously I have dropped that weight, but I'm perfectly comfortable taking a bigger jump for next week to 150, providing obviously nothing goes wrong in terms of what's happening with my back. So really happy with how my top double went. It moved really easily, felt super sub max. I felt like I could have just kept repping the weight, and that's exactly what I wanted. Then I moved on to my back downs, which was 120 for 4x6, which is the exact same plan that I had before my injury for my back offs. So just kind of executed as normal. These felt really good. They felt really light. They felt comfortable. I felt like I kept good control through all of my sets. Like, they all moved pretty much identically. I managed to keep that pressure over midfoot, and I definitely noticed that I'm keeping the bar positioning better on my back, and I'm also bracing a lot tighter now that obviously I've had the flare up in my back as well. So all of those elements combined, I'm hoping that means that I'm on to a big squat at comp, but we'll just see what happens. It seems to be the loyal lift at the moment, so I'm just going to keep going with it and hope for the best. Then I moved on to bench, and I was so happy because I could finally bench with my feet down. It was a little bit uncomfortable still, but no more uncomfortable than actually setting up with my feet up was. So this week's top single was literally only 100 anyway, so I knew it was going to be easy. I made sure to do a half decent pause. I didn't actually get any press commands for this session because I just didn't know how it was going to feel, so I didn't bother asking anyone to come and give them to me. So I just did 100 for my top single. It moved as 100 should. I was super happy. I still did my back downs with my feet on the bench just because I didn't want to risk flaring anything up because I still had deadlifts to do after this. So just to be sensible, I did my 4x3 at 90, which is again lighter than I'd obviously planned to do them. It moved fine. It moved as it kind of should. I'm probably going to go back to my feet on the floor for next week's sessions just to see how I get on. But just for this one, just because obviously it is still a very new flare up, I didn't want to risk irritating it any further before deadlifts. So I did my 90 back offs, and then I did my Larson 3x6 at 80 kilos, and it was absolutely fine. Nothing to report on. Obviously, Larson hasn't really changed apart from just struggling to set up as easily with my feet kind of, or my back positioning, having to be a bit more careful. So, I mean, nothing to report on Larson, I don't think. It just moved as it should. Then I went on to sumo. So I was going to still do my top double on this day, conventional. But then I decided I just didn't feel comfortable or confident doing that. And if I'm not feeling 100% confident, then I'm not going to execute well. So I decided to just trial sumo. So I jumped from 70 to 120, and the 120 kind of just flew, which obviously it should. It's only 120. Then I went to 140, moved absolutely fine as well. So I managed to do my top double at 150, which is what my planned top double was originally anyway with conventional. So I matched what I was supposed to do, and I would say it probably was about an RPE6. Obviously it's hard to tell because sumo is a new movement for me and I haven't done it in years, but I was overall just really happy that it moved how it did, especially because my technique is very kind of rough at the moment. Like, it's completely new. I'm still figuring out what works for me, for my leverages, which is why I then did my back offs all paused. So 4x4 paused at 120, and that's also why I'm going to keep in sumo on a Tuesday as well, just to refine that technique. And then also, once I finished my sumo, I did also add in Cossack squats and some more split squats just for extra kind of leg work, and the Cossack obviously to help complement my adductors with sumo. So that was the only other things I added in other than typical mobility and core work. Okay. So as you can see, that session went very well considering everything. I didn't really have to adjust my program at all compared to what I'd originally written down before my back went. So that is a massive positive. The pain was no worse after than before the session. It's this now Sunday, and to be honest, it's pretty much non-existent. Like, it's still there. I'm still going to have to be careful. But unless somehow my back flares up again between now and comp, which I can't imagine happening because I'm going to keep on top of everything I've been doing this week, the entire time of this prep, I'm going to continue it after. Like, I never want this to flare up again. It was horribly painful. Yeah, unless something happens and it kind of goes or it gets significantly worse, I will definitely be competing. The entry list was released yesterday, I think, or I saw it for the first time yesterday. I'm currently ranked first, but only by 5 kilos, so that means it should be a fun battle for first place. I guess we'll see. I'm confident I'll still be able to bring a decent total PB. The only thing I'm not confident on PBing is my deadlift, but to be honest, I've put a lot on my deadlift in the last year anyway, so even if I can just match my conventional PB, which is 185 in comp sumo, I'll be fairly happy. So we'll just see, but I will be competing, I will be making sure I look after my back, and I'm really excited. It should be a really fun comp. It's ran by literally the best kind of comp organisers in the country. It's got loads of different sponsors. Like, it's going to be a really fun comp, so very excited to be doing it, and it's going to be fun learning sumo, I guess. But I hope you have enjoyed this video. I don't think I've got anything else to ramble on about. If you have, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.
Only if you say, only if you say, only if you say so. Stop playing with me, girl, stop playing with me. Know you wanna stay with me, so just come stay with me.